Welcome to Kicking Doors with DJ Spoo. I'm Timothy Maurice, and we're so excited to have legends in the house, entrepreneurial minds that you know them from Dragon's Den. We're so excited. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to start with Lebo. Lebo, your journey is completely fascinating. I mean, I've known you for a while. I've seen you go up and down like a roller coaster. You've learned some hard lessons. Right now, 2015, what is one of the hardest lessons? What is one of the main things that people have to know if they want to be an entrepreneur?
I think for me, Maurice, one of the hardest lessons that I've learned is that you've got to watch trends in your business, because sometimes we get so caught up in this one type of business that we do, we forget that the world is changing around us. I mean, Gil made a presentation this morning at the launch of the I'm In book, and he was just showing how things are going to change in the future. And we forget that. As a result, one of the things that I've learned is that I've learned that you must embrace change in your business. I used to be focused more on the publishing space in my business, but now I've gone to a more technologically advanced space, more the online space, because the world now is breaking boundaries. We are in a digital village, so you can't be caught up in a space that is terrestrial, where your product only must reach only a certain type of people. Your product now can go worldwide.
Sure.
So that's what I've learned, and for me it's been a journey, because that change was a tough change because it came with a lot of difficult moments.
Wow, that's powerful point. I mean, Polo, funding is a challenge everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's one of your core sort of strengths. Mm-hmm. If you go to the average person on the street, they'll tell you, I've got great ideas. I think I have solutions. I've even got mentors. I've even read your new book, but I need funding. Give us some ideas for the average person to want to start something relatively small, a couple sort of like nuggets around thinking about funding.
Well, firstly, they have to buy the book because it helps you to understand the questions that you need to be asking yourself.
Sure.
To prepare yourself to be investor ready. I'm saying it in jest, but I think there's a bit of truth in it. I think entrepreneurs need to understand that when they are seeking funding from an investor or financier, they are actually trying to sell their business story to somebody. So they need to spend their time refining the story that they want to sell. It's important for them to be able to demonstrate to an investor that the investor will get their money back in some. So it's really about spending that time understanding exactly what are the various moving parts, what exactly is it that I'm solving, what problem am I solving? Is this the right solution or the best solution? Can I really make money out of this? What is it going to cost me to get it to market? So things like that, they're simple things actually, and they are logical. I think they make sense, right? So there's nothing complicated about it, and I think that's really what entrepreneurs need to understand.
Gil, you're one of these people who have a signature. Mm-hmm. It's very clear. There are not many Gils running around. When you kick down a door, how important is it to have a signature style, something about you that people will never forget?
It's absolutely critical. I've even created my own mantra in my pursuit of building a personal brand. I'll give you the mantra if you want.
I want to know.
Passion-fueled optimist.
Passion-fueled optimist.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, because I think that all entrepreneurs need to have a mix of optimism with passion, but you have to be an optimist. I think entrepreneurs make for very bad realists.
Sure.
Because if you saw the problems that you're about to face, you'd never go into entrepreneurship. Optimists kind of like go into it and they work it out as they go along, and passion makes up for a lot of flaws. So passion-fueled optimism is what I live by. But building a personal brand is critical, and never before in the history of man has it been easier to do that. If you stand for something and you believe in it and you have a story to tell, you don't need to spend a lot of money telling your story, building your brand. And we live in a very interconnected, small world. And the only thing that you really have at the end of the day is your personal brand, your reputation, your credibility, your ethics. And all these things follow you around for good and for bad.
Sure.
And being aware of that and understanding the importance of just marketing, not only your title or your business, but also your personality is absolutely critical.
This book you guys have launched, you guys have come together and you wanted to extend the conversation, put it on paper beyond the media, for allow people to sort of bury themselves in content. It seems like I know you guys are about depth of content. Take us through sort of the thinking around structuring a book and what a person can expect from the content.
So very briefly, what happened was when the show aired, we were watching 20% of it on the TV and 80% was on Twitter, as one does. One of the rules of the format of the show is that when a dragon makes a decision, you have to say, look, I don't like your business, I don't like the financing, whatever it is, and for all these reasons, I'm out. And what happened was when we were watching the show, Twitter went mad going, well, if these are all the reasons you're out, what would make you go in? So we decided we're going to put a book together and we're going to call it, and for all these reasons, I'm in. Talking about all the things that you as an entrepreneur need to be aware of in order to take you down that journey of success.
Wow, brilliant.
We also found that there was a big gap between more the black entrepreneurs and the white counterparts in terms of exposure to business. So we thought that because all the time the black entrepreneurs appear to be more like they're not prepared or they don't know better. So we thought the book would be a very good book to even start at young colleges to just prepare the young crowd, to be entrepreneurial, more astute in terms of understanding the space, because you find that by the time they get old to university and those things, it's too late. So you got to inculcate the culture of entrepreneurship at a very young age so they also understand the terms of entrepreneurship.
Sure. You have danced with some of the best dragons globally. First of all, dancing with a dragon is not easy. And I know whether you're in LA, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in Beijing or South Africa, you have ability to work globally. Give us some tips on those who have a global vision and how they can sort of like make sure they're as effective in this market as they are other markets.
Do you want to answer that?
That's fine, yes. I think I always say to entrepreneurs that South Africa should be your test case, right? So you start, you come up with an idea and you go and test it and make it relevant for South Africa. But you should always have at the back of your mind, the rest of the continent or even the rest of the world. And you then have to accept that you have to have the ability to change or rather adapt the whether it's a product or a service in whichever market you enter into, because our markets are not homogeneous. You test it here just for the purpose of making sure that you refine it, it works,
sure.
And you tweak it as you go along, because with every product, any new product, you go to market and you think this is what the market wants, and then they give you a very different response. So you do the tweaking. But if you're going to get into Kenya, if you're going to get into Zimbabwe, when you get there, do not go there with the presumption that, well, it worked in South Africa and therefore it's going to work here. So you need to understand also the market dynamics,
sure.
and I think that's what makes that's why it makes sense a lot of the time to also have local partners in the countries
Absolutely.
that you are wanting to expand into.
Gil, collaboration is key. We look at what's happening in Nigeria now. A lot of businesses are really realizing that having those extraordinary relationships, you go across the continent, being exactly as Polo said. How do you approach collaboration in terms of meeting someone new you want to do business with? How do you vet them? How do you check them out?
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting that you're asking this, because I've just come from Tanzania. I was in Kenya, Ethiopia, all in the past few months, and loving the different cultures and the spirit of entrepreneurship and passion that I see all over the continent. Collaboration is absolutely crucial if you want to expand your business. And understanding that there are different people dynamics is very important. For me, it's very simple. I love people, and people who are of like mind are attracted to
Sure,
that,
sure.
and that's the first step. So I approach partnership with openness, with transparency, with honesty, and it seems to have worked way more often than it's failed. Sometimes there'll be people who'll be out to get you and try and do a fast one. But I think in today's interconnected world, it's becoming more and more difficult to do that.
Yeah, you can
because you can do a
easier.
reference check
Yeah,
very quickly.
Absolutely.
So you need to know who to ask. I'm part of YPO, Young Presidents Organization, which is a global organization. I strongly encourage any entrepreneurs to to get involved with organizations that are credible and preferably international if they're looking to do business in the rest of the world. And you can very quickly get references, ask around, do your homework, but approach the relationship with a sense of openness and trust. And very often it'll be reciprocated.
Got it. You know, Drake popularized this idea of starting from the bottom. Now we're here. When you started from the bottom, what was the first big win you had? Like from the bottom, like when you really got into, what was the first big win when you knew, I think I am really in. I'm in. Like, you know, I'm not going back.
You know, for me, the most important part that I recognized in my life was that time is of essence. You know, sometimes you work so hard the whole day, the whole month, and if you're employed, you find that you're earning the exact same money the whole month of working. And I said to myself, but there must be something wrong with this formula. When I work hard, I earn the same money. When I work less, I earn the same money. Then I said, no, this must change. So what I did, I then quit that advertising agency.
Okay.
And then I started, you know, going to a club that was not doing well. And I said to those guys, I can bring you an audience and a market.
Wow.
And in return, I take money from my market, you make the money off the drinks of my market. So I just felt that the concept of owning and understanding a market is crucial to starting any business. And in that week, with only 1 week of marketing and a market that I knew very well, when I introduced the product to them, I made more money in that 1 week than I made the whole month working for that agency.
Wow.
And that told me right there and there that I'm in the good
It
space.
can happen, yeah.
But the problem is that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we think all that money that we make in that day is all ours, but we forget that it's a business money. So over the years, I've had to learn the hard way that the money that you've just made is not all your money. You can get excited, but it's all not yours. So in business, you have to differentiate between what is yours and what is not yours. But I learned, but that was a breakthrough for me.
Are all women. You haven't let these men sort of wear you into a thing where your femininity has been dwindled. You remain, gender equality is very important to this show. Yes. You know, I feature on a feature called Inside of Her C-Suite where we interview powerful women like yourself. How have you been able to remain feminine dealing with these hard men who try to wear you into this mold of what it means to be a businesswoman?
I think we underestimate the power of femininity. And I also think that a woman trying to be a man is going to fail at it because you know you can't be the best thing that you are not. Actually, you can only be the best thing that you are. So I think and being feminine doesn't mean you are weak, and I think we need to understand that. Being a woman doesn't mean that you are weak. We just need to redefine what strength is in our society, because I think we have defined strength as being about masculinity and perhaps aggression or things like that. And I don't think so. I think strength lies, in fact, a lot of strong people are typically the quietest ones in the room.
Sure.
So I think I've been very conscious of the role that, you know, when you receive success in life, I think it comes with a lot of responsibility. So I do not take for granted the role model role that I play for other women, and one has to be very careful what you do in that. I wouldn't want to come across as this very hard, aggressive woman trying to be a man, because then I'm telling every little girl out there that you can only be successful or be seen to be successful if you're like that. So,
thank you.
Polo actually came to me when we were writing the book, and she said, you know, I feel so good that we're doing this, because I feel I have an obligation to give license to other younger women to succeed. And in telling my story and writing this book, I'm giving them a license to do that. And I thought it was so admirable, really amazing.
Thank you. Gil, the importance of diversity on the continent. You know, we talk about hardcore issues on kicking doors. The whole point about kicking the door down is so we can have a real conversation. You know, there are about 1.1 billion people on this continent. You know, as a person of your background, you represent less than probably 2% on the continent, but you seem to be non-racial. What are some things that you do to break down those barriers so that people won't have those negative biases and they entertain you just like anybody else?
Yeah, well, I don't do it actively. It's I just simply don't think about it, because I don't think of humans as men or women or black or white or this. It's so surfacey to think of people in those in those tones.
But it's a reality.
It's absolutely
you walk
a
into
reality.
a room at time and people go, here's a white guy, I'm a black guy, oh my goodness, this thing could go pear-shaped.
Yeah.
In those moments, what do you do?
I don't think about it.
You keep moving.
I simply don't think about it because you reflect the energy that you are.
Got it.
And as soon as I walk into a room, because I don't think about it, immediately everyone else kind of first reaction is, this guy, and they, clothes, height, I'm short, white, this and that, and very quickly that kind of you got to knock down the door from that.
And Jewish too.
Yeah. Of course, throw it all in. It's a melting pot. But that's exactly it. And again, I think I'll come back to the point is I love people. I have a lot of love for people. I know it sounds cheesy when I say it. It sounds terrible, but I really mean that. And I have a bounty of love for them, and I think they feel that, and it comes back to me with the people that I interact. That said, I do want to say one thing though. Black people have had it tough in the world. They've had it tough in the continent, and certainly in South Africa, it's been a crazy story. And the past stays with us. It's not something that you can just say, it's in the past. I think you need to deal with it every day.
Yes.
And you can't change the past,
Sure.
but it's with you. Sure. And you need to think about how do you take that and make that a strength going forward.
Absolutely.
In the African language, we say, how do you turn a lemon into a lemonade?
Absolutely. One of the things I love about what the Jewish community has done is been able to sort of institutionalize things and really sort of like almost like commemorate the sacrifices and so forth and bring things forward. Speaking of culture level, dealing with various cultures, it's really important to be sensitive to other people's cultures. You may be dealing with someone who's Xhosa or from a Yoruban tribe or whatever. Do you prepare before you go in? Do you consciously think about these things? Because I know as an American, something that's really important to me is that when I go into a conversation, I go in and I research. So if I'm dealing with someone who's a Muslim and it's approaching their time of celebrations or their New Year or whatever, I acknowledge that because I think it's important that people want to feel. How have you experienced engaging around cultural dynamics when it comes to entrepreneurship?
I think when you approach business, and it's always very important to acknowledge culture purely because the way the Chinese, the way the Jews, the way the Indians, they all do business differently. But now when it comes to South Africans, there's a whole concept of that I'm older than you. And that so it doesn't matter what position you are in, but you must still respect that I'm older than you.
Yes.
They don't care. While with our other counterparts, is that if I'm your boss, I'm your boss. I don't care how old you are, but I'm your boss. With us, we have to still balance the concept of the relationship, the more like the paternal relationship between between the employee and the employer. So as a result, you find yourself that you are supposed to give this man orders, but the way he looks at you, he's telling you that you're not just about to order me to do something for you.
Yes,
So it becomes a very dynamic cultural environment. So, but these days, things have changed. I think they're starting to accept that, look, if I'm a boss at home, I can't be a boss at work. And it goes to same as women and men. You find that a woman telling a man what to do in the workspace, and then even if maybe there's a relationship between the two, but you find that now the woman has to be submissive at home and not be the boss she is at work, giving directions.
Sure.
So culture comes in all those levels, but I think the most important thing is that to some extent, everyone is adapting to the concept of business and also the relations between home and work.
Absolutely.
But does it not talk to diversity? I think diversity is such an important principle in today's world because we've come to appreciate that a diverse work environment actually means better results on the bottom line. So it's not even just about cultural differences and nuances. It is patriarchal, it is racial, it is gender, it is ageist, well, I don't know whether it's called ageism, but yeah, I'll call it ageism. And I think any entrepreneur needs to understand that you need to have a properly diversified makeup of people working for you, because those are the people who will help you to navigate. If I'm going to be wanting to do business with somebody, let's say a Xhosa person, as you made an example, if I don't have a Xhosa speaking person in my organization who understands the culture, I might actually make a lot of faux pas in my engagement and offend people in the process without even being conscious that I'm offending. Precisely. I'll use a very practical example. In African culture, when I walk into a room, I have to sit down because I can't be above you. It's disrespectful for me to walk into a room and then I'm speaking like that to you.
Okay.
In the Western culture, I can't sit down before I'm invited to sit down. Do you know how many business deals have been broken or lost purely because somebody walked into a room and did the wrong thing, they didn't even realize it? So those things are important. I mean, it was quite an interesting example for me because it was given to me by an old African gentleman that I used to do business with, and he was telling me that he himself was a financier and he used to fund entrepreneurs that were black entrepreneurs that were looking to buy into small white-owned businesses, and they were working on a transaction. It was going very well. On the day they're supposed to sign, the white guy walked out of the room because he felt so insulted that this guy walked into his office and actually. And I thought that was, it's such a, you know what I mean? It's that nuancing, and we need to understand the importance then of having people around us who will help us to navigate those things, because half of the time we don't know.
And let me just say, we've only got a few more minutes, but I want to say, first of all, great work. You guys are doing really great work. I think it's the power of the media while we're even here right now. Publishing this book and the timing around global entrepreneurship season is very important, that people be able to sort of bury themselves in understanding what you guys have learned and to get in and what you've got put on paper. Take us through some of your favorite chapters.
Sure. Well, actually, so the whole book is a coffee table type book, highly graphical, and it's meant to be an easy read. It's meant to give you something, whether you open it up somewhere in the middle and read 3 or 4 pages and put it down, you should be able to get a thought out of it.
Sure.
Or alternatively, you could start at the beginning and read it all the way through, and it takes you on a journey. Okay. And the first chapter is all about, are you an entrepreneur? Because if you're not an entrepreneur, put the book down, go carry on with your day job and move on. So the first one is, are you an entrepreneur? And then it says, okay, cool, if you're an entrepreneur, the second chapter is about the importance of an idea, concept. You need a good idea. You don't need the best idea. Do you need to come up with the next Facebook? No, because even Facebook wasn't Facebook when it started. It was a way of meeting girls in varsity. It's about what makes a good idea. The next part is about putting it into a presentation. Yes. And it takes you on a journey, and packaging, and having a one-line sales pitch, like the elevator pitch, and understanding to talk about numbers and valuations and the importance of networking and branding, personal branding and marketing, and dealing with investors. And so it takes you on this awesome journey. Look. Yes. And so that's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to inspire pretty much anyone, young, old, an entrepreneur at work, or an entrepreneur who's starting off or has been running a business for 20 years and says, you know what, I want to do a kink in my trajectory. Yeah. That's the part I love about the book, is that it's got something for everyone.
If I got the book, it seems like to me I could bring a few friends around, this type of coffee table vibe, and we could just sort of dialogue around the book, right?
We always say, like, this night as we enter like the giving period, instead of teaching someone fish, that whole fish analogy. Absolutely. So this is our thing, is don't give someone money, teach them how to make money, buy our book. Yes. And all the proceeds of the book go to an entrepreneurial charity. Yeah. So this is the least entrepreneurial thing any of us have ever done.
Lebo.
No, I was just about to say that I think what comes out the most for me also in the book is the fact that most of us, especially those who come from the township, who start businesses, sometimes we don't have a long-term view of the business. So we don't say, how do we build this business to become a discovery or to become an F&B? We always just run our shops and it ends there. So we don't think about issues of scalability.
Sure.
going beyond boundaries, going to the world and global. So that book just helps you to unpack yourself out of that system. So if you were running this shop and you thought this is where you are ending and this business must just sustain you, it interrogates you to say, these are the things that you should be doing to make your business global. Because as long as you're not thinking like this, you will remain where you are. So there are a lot of ideas around that. And I think for township entrepreneurs, I think even government should actually distribute. They've got this huge township economy thing going on.
I love it.
They should make sure that every single entrepreneur in the township gets this easy to read book to make sure that they can get themselves and their businesses to be global rather than to always think that I'm from the township, so my business must end in the township. That's not the case. Your business must go worldwide.
Guys, thank you very much. Thank you for coming in, kicking down CNBC's doors, and sharing what you're doing. We really appreciate your example. We appreciate you knowing that your history has value and putting it on a media platform and exposing yourself. Because we know it's not easy. Twitter is sometimes very unforgiving. Social media is unforgiving, but this is what we're about. Thank you for coming on, kicking down doors with DJ Spoot and myself, Timothy Maurice.